So we are going to share some insights on Sitecore Connect, introduction of Sitecore Connect, and a small demo which we prepared just for the demo purpose. So yeah, like we are hearing composable DXP like from the morning, and even nowadays we are hearing composable DXP. And as mentioned, yes, composable is the future, and the nature of composable technology means that you must connect your ecosystems together. You must be able to connect all your ecosystems together and all the modules to fit your custom needs. And a composable architecture addresses challenges that business faces mostly. Such an example is Sitecore Connect. So Sitecore Connect is a symposium. Like Sitecore has brought it up in symposium, the recent symposium, and the new integration automation tooling to help customers with a low code or a no code platform as a service, which is something known as iPaaS. So introducing ourselves, myself, Sri Krishnan, working as an associate technology lead at Horizontal Digital and was awarded Sitecore MVP twice.
Yeah, myself Deepak, also working in horizontal and solution architect, state solution architect.
Yeah. Let's start by a short introduction to the engagement cloud itself, where like we all know that Sitecore Composable DXP consists of these three main pillars. That is content cloud, commerce cloud, and engagement cloud. So first thing, content. Content is the main foundation of DXP. It is the starting point of DXP where we store all the digital assets, managements, etc. The second one is experience. For experience, which is engagement cloud, we have CDP, send, personalized. And Sitecore Connect was a recent addition to that. I guess on October 22nd was when Sitecore Connect was added to the engagement cloud. And then we have Commerce Cloud, where the experience get on to the customers. Like we know, we different products and how this experience go reach up to the customers is done by Commerce Cloud. So these three are the main pillars of composable DX. Now we'll explore more on Connect. Now, what is Sitecore Connect? Sitecore defines Sitecore Connect as a iPaaS, which is integration platform as a service. Like already mentioned, it is a low code, no code platform that connects your ecosystem by just dragging and dropping. That is, all your custom needs are at a single place. So a person with a less technical knowledge or even no technical knowledge also will be able to work on that. For example, marketers. Marketers will not have that much technical knowledge. They work for our business and they work for promoting our business. So even those persons will be able to work on this particular Sitecore Connect application. So like some of the advantages are connectivity is simplified, automation for marketing, and faster integration. Whenever we get a product or whenever we get a requirement, the main focus is to reach the market, how fast it reaches the market, and then visualize your process. We can see what is happening. When we run something that is in Sitecore Connect, we can see that okay, what it is running, whether it is failed. We can get all these real-time updates in Sitecore Connect. So before moving on to the Sitecore Connect, let's see something called Workato. Sitecore has bought Workato and made it to the site and renamed it as Sitecore Connect. So Workato is a platform that helps you automate business workflows across the cloud and on-premises apps. So both cloud and on-premises systems are supported. Mercato delivers the power of automation without needing a IT expert or else somebody who is experienced. And yeah, and even Mercato has claimed that over 77% of Mercato clients go live with their first automation within 1 week of their account setup. It is that fast.
So as you see, like Sitecore Connect uses Workato as a tool for integration. So we have few key concepts here for Workato, like we have project, recipe, trigger, webhook, action, and connections. So we'll go through each of these concepts one by one. So first is project. So when we are setting up a project, we also need to set up a project in Workato. So let's say in project A, so you'll have to create a project here so that you can organize everything here. So a project will consist of recipes and connection. We'll go through recipes and connection next slides. So by definition, it's a business process or workflow, which is actually required for your data transaction from Sitecore to other integration party. Like you may have Salesforce, you may have Box or any integration. So you'll have to set up a project so that you can have all these integration recipes and connections in the project. So it is, you can see here we have given a project name, description, and once you create a project, it will look something like this. So we'll show you that. So recipes. So whenever we have to create an automation, a workflow, automation workflow, then user is going to create these automations, which are called recipes. So recipes starts with a trigger. So there is a trigger point which is needed for connect to start with. This trigger could be anything, like for example, if you're creating a new account in Salesforce, so that could be your trigger point. Like once a Salesforce account is created, you want to do some action based on creation of that account. You can have a trigger point of a webhook, like if an event occurs from Sitecore that directly goes to webhook, and further automation will happen here, whatever you want to do, which we will be going through in demo. So a trigger is mandatory for a recipe, and after trigger, you can have multiple actions. These actions could be any number of application, like you want to maybe send some email, you want to connect to Salesforce, you want to submit some data to other third parties. So those are actions which will be there. Now, these actions will consist of conditions as well. So you can also put condition based on the data which is coming from your trigger or action. So let's say you want some mandatory field to be available when data is being submitted from trigger. So you can put if condition, else condition, and all those. So that flow can be created here. So it can have one or more action based on the complexity. Then trigger is what defines like which event is being listened. So here Salesforce event is being listened. There could be webhook events and also that triggers determined. There will be one trigger for each recipe. Then if we divide these recipes, it could be trigger, there will be action, or there will be conditional actions, which you are seeing here. And these all combined together creates a recipe. And this entire flow, when it is executed, it is called a job. So when it starts from trigger, it flows down, if condition, yes, no, it determines, do the action, then there is a stop job, so it will stop the job. So this complete flow is called job. So these recipe Sitecore has committed, like they will provide out of the box recipe for their applications, which you can see in recipe library. So in recipe library, you can find recipes which are created by user. You can also contribute. There is community where you can contribute for recipes. So connection. Whenever you are connecting to an app, so those need to be authenticated via OAuth or maybe credential or anything. Like if you're connecting to FTP, there will be credential. If you are connecting to Salesforce, it could be a OAuth. So there are thousands of apps here you can integrate with, and here you will also find all the apps which is available in Sitecore as well, like Send, the cloud, and all. So that you will be seeing as connections there. So when you integrate these, it is one-time integration. If you have, let's say, auto cloud platform, so you have to integrate once and create a connection that will be within your project, and that connection can be reused in multiple recipes. So when we authorize an app, like Bitbucket or anything, when we authorize it, it is called a connection. So for demo, we are having two demos, two quick demo. One will be a simple integration where we are going to create an item. It is going to fire a event, and it's going to update an Excel sheet over Google Sheet, which is connected. And another example will be like we will creating a user in Sitecore, and that is going to submit it to Salesforce as a content. It will get created, and then we'll be using Sitecore Send as well for that.
Sorry, licensing information of I don't know the exact details. Based on each project, control new projects we are creating, it is starting for each and every like per project. We are creating a project in the beginning. Also, in any project can contain multiple jobs for the project.
What's the time?
Yes, like we can have multiple. For example, we can connect. For example, users connections are handled. So similarly, we can have multiple connections. Choose a connection. It will choose of the list which connection you need to use for that particular purpose. Yeah, we have no trust. No, no. In business case, I guess we are building it now, getting some content from ChatGPT and translating and getting it now content. Not only the translation piece, we send the content. We send some content. I get that content from ChatGPT and again send that to translate, then get it back for that language and that kind of business. Yeah. Yes, that's that. No, but no developers need. Just you need this site code already built. And if you want to handle any third party, for example, we are writing a sales code. You just need to add the connection and add this. Everything will be orchestrated. Like we don't know, we just need to start and we can just sit and oh, for a custom app, we have to do custom only. But in default itself, they give 5,000. So if you see, if you don't believe, market will give 5,000 apps to them. So, also logic apps. Yeah, I saw. I similar to that. Okay.
Okay, so I have logged into Sitecore Cloud. We have access to these apps. So if you can see, we have Connect. So if you go to Connect, you have dashboard where you can monitor like what is the traffic basically for your Connect app. Then you have recipes, which we are discussing, and this is the library. So this is a community place where you will find other recipes as well. We'll mostly focus on this recipe area. Yeah.
So first demo is just for understanding purpose. Second demo will be little more use case.
So we spoke about projects. So if you see, there are multiple projects created here, and we have created a project for SUG real app here. So we have this, what we call it as a project. If you click here, you'll be able to create a project. So you have to just give name, description, and that's the project is ready for you. And uh, within that project, you are going to find recipes and connections. So the first one which you are seeing is a recipe. The icon determines it. And second one, where there is a the kind of icon which this is your connection. So I have two connections, two or three connections here. One is for Google Sheet. This is for Salesforce and this is for first demo is for Google Sheet action. So what it is going to do is I'm going to create an item in Sitecore, and it is going to create an entry and in a Google Sheet, which I have created yesterday.
Yeah. Like pricing is total, but for individual products you will be charged. But for license perspective, there will be a license. But for projects like we have the SUG subscriptions, right? For that, if multiple subscriptions are there, then you will be charged for it.
So this is how a recipe looks like. So we have a trigger, which is a webhook. I've named it as item create, and once you name it, you'll get the webhook address. This need to be copied because this is where you'll be having your event to trigger and fire, and this webhook is going to collect the data and will perform action accordingly. So what is going to happen here is like webhook will be triggered, and a new row will be added to the Google Sheet, which I have already configured. Okay. So I'm going to add an item here. I think it's the wrong place. I created it at the wrong place. So if you can see here now, it says job received. And here, after a few seconds, you will get updated. This interface will get updated and it's going to show you uh, the job which executed. This also shows you a status, like if something fails, you're going to see the status as well as error. If you click here for the trigger, you also get the payload. So we have not done anything different, like whatever we received from Hook, we just put it here. So in this payload, you see all the data like an item name, item IDs, and all those are here. Then we are using those data to perform an entry in the sheet here.
So nothing is custom. All the values that we got from Sitecore is part of the like item ID, item name, whether this is shared theme, everything. All the details we get it from the web itself.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yes, we'll show that. We'll show that.
Yeah. So if you see the sheet now, so this is the new item on the fifth one, which got created now with item ID and language. Okay, so how it is being fired? Within system.
So from Sitecore 10.3, we do have something called webhook. So you can create a new webhook.
Yeah, so here there is a webhook for item added. So that event is mapped there, item added. And if you can put some rules within the Sitecore for this webhook, you need to have this checkbox enabled, then only it will fire. And you have the URL. So this is the same URL which we got it from Connect when we were configuring the hook. You have to just copy paste it and it works. So second demo will be from Shri.
इधर कहाँ से कैंडल है
उधर जाएगा तो फिर उधर आएगा.
तो ऑल टैब करना है ना ओके लेकिन सेकंड स्क्रीन कहाँ जा रहा है लाइक हाउ टू नेविगेट टू दैट स्क्रीन इधर से और मैं लोग इधर से करना चाहता हूँ okay let me go back. So before that, again, let me show that how a connection is created, how we can trigger a webhook, how we can get the payload, and based on that payload, how we can create a custom action. So let us go to the. So here is in the project, here is something called create. In this create, you can create a new connection or a new recipe. So once I go to a connection, it will show you a list of apps that you can get connected. So here you have different apps. Whatever app you need. For example, let me Content Hub. So we have Sitecore's Content Hub and Content Hub one here. Similarly, we have a Send. Sitecore Send, we have it. By default, we have 5 apps of Sitecore: Sitecore CDP, Sitecore Send, Sitecore Content Hub, Sitecore Order Cloud, and Content Hub one. These are the default integrations that Sitecore by default provide. So from here, if I go to Sitecore Send and let me create it, it will ask me for some details. So we can provide API key. I guess more of Sitecore. I'm not going details of Sitecore Send because it will be covered by our fellow friend Hari after this, Hari Babu. So we get all these details from Sitecore Send like API key, like we get it from usually all the applications from Content Hub or anything. We get their authorization, all details. We put everything and add that connection. That is it. Now let me go to the project and let me create a new recipe. And this recipe is test. And here there is a starting point where we can trigger from an app, trigger from a webhook, run on a schedule, etc. So let me trigger from a webhook. Let me start building. So now you will be provided with a flowchart. So new event via HTTP webhook. So what I'll do is let me create for a webhook. You have a guided setup. You don't need to create that. Also is an advantage. Like you don't need to create it manually. So if you come here, you can start a guided setup where you can put the event name as SUG BLR test. So my webhook address automatically gets built. Now what we'll do is let's copy this and I'll put next. So what it is like, it is listening for an event now. Now let me switch to the Sitecore. Yep. So let me add a yep. Let's right click on webhook and let me add a new webhook handler. And this is test SUG Bangalore. And inside this, the URL which we copied. Let me paste that. And we need to enable it. And when should it trigger? It should trigger when, like by default, Sitecore gives you 2 options. which is item and publish. User is something we created custom, but that will show. So let me create it for item created or else item saved. Yeah. So there is item added, item deleted, item saved. So let me click on this and I save this. Now I go to some of the item which Deepak had created. And if I add something and save it, yeah, so now you will see a message like event received, and you will be shown with all the parameters, that is the payload, everything. So you can see the payload here. Now from this particular payload, you can understand that what should be your next step. For example, I can check whether that item which I gave, which I received has an ID, then take this field from that item and send it to somewhere. So that is where this payload which we give, which the data which we give is most important. Now what we'll do is I set up the webhook here, and whenever I add a new action, like we can add an if condition, or else we can call a function. So if now I'll select an app. Now I'll select an app where my condition would be, if I click here, I will be provided with the data from the webhook automatically. So from here, I can select the item, and there is something called ID. I can just drag and drop to here. That's it. If my item ID is present, that is, if my item ID, either you can use contains or in something, or else if my item ID is present, then do some action. So like that, you can create these triggers, you can create if conditions, you can create new actions, etc. So for example, now I am selecting an app and I am adding send here, just for example. And if I open this, it will add me, like if you can create a subscriber. So it will ask me. So like for you asked, right? There will be, if we add multiple connections, they will show that it will having showing two active connections, and we can select whichever connection we need. Okay, now let me exit it, and we'll show that recipe which we have built. Yep. So this entire process we have built in such a way that I'll go to Sitecore, I'll create a user in Sitecore. If that user is created successfully, if the user is created successfully, then what I will do is, if username is present, for example, Salesforce requires last name as a mandatory field. So for example, if I put only Sri Krishnan, it is a single word. So I will save that Sri Krishnan to my last name because Salesforce needed that. If I save the name as Deepak Kumar, then Deepak will be my first name and Kumar will be my last name. So that is why if username dot split, and these conditions are simply same as we do for .NET or any other programming code language. Dot split of one is present, then create a contact in Salesforce. In that also we have added that, okay, the last name would be username dot split, and here what will be like, it will be username dot like it will be splitting and saving the first name and last name accordingly. And now if the Salesforce contact is saved successfully, if the object ID is present, then what I'll do is go to Sitecore set and create a subscriber in any list. So subscribers and list will be covered later, but I'll just go and create a subscriber in the list. So let us move on to the demo. Yep. So let me go to user manager. New user SUG BLR. Sorry, SUG space BLR. Second, this is my username. This is my full name. SUG space BLR. SUGBLR@test.com. Password test123. Test123. Now let me go here. Oh, 1 second. Just making sure that this this process is started. So if you see that we can stop the recipe, but we have to make sure that this recipe is started. Then only this will work. Now let me go there. And I'm just creating a user here. So now my user has been successfully created. Now what it does is there is a active successful job. Yeah, so we are getting something called job received. The last job received at 3:21 a.m. Once that job is completed, it will be showing. Yep. So if you see that there is a job which was triggered at 3:21. Now, if I need to check the details of that job, I can go here. But our main perspective is we have now. Let me reload it. So it has saved the SUG Bangalore username which we have created. And now if I go to Sitecore Connect, and this is something a dashboard or a list which we have created customly. So if you see that the list has been, the name has been created Sitecore Connect also. So I guess that is it. This was very major, minor overview of what we have done. This is likely a kind of best example use case scenario that we have shared. Like it can be connected with Salesforce, which is not a Sitecore product, and also with a Sitecore product, which is Sitecore Site. Yeah. Any questions in this? So you see, you make one part and one there is a format of yes, yes. So Micro Connect is coming with an advanced, like, not sure whether it has come or not, but what I heard from the Cycle recent the webinar by Cycle person, what we thought that in the advancement, Cycle Connect will help us to import all the recipes from one environment. We can download it as a JSON format or something, and we can move it. Yeah, but that is what. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It will again, it's enabled with the Sitecore. Yes. So Excel flow is also enabled. And one more thing I wanted to show, this is not only in the item saved or anything, it can be done in workflows also. Okay. So let me show this. We open content editor. So in system, in my workflows, so now we have something called workflows, right? The use case which I explained. For example, user is creating an item. Or else I'm sending some word. I have an item, I created an item. I have a field where I send my words, that is the details which I need to get from ChatGPT. For example, SUG Bangalore. I have a field there, and when I click on the workflow, it sends that value to ChatGPT and gets me the data. And using GraphQL, we can save that item, save that details here. And the next section is the workflow. I can add a translate workflow where I can click on translate. Then what it sends is it sends the data to some Sitecore translates, sorry, not Sitecore translate. It sends to Google Translate or any other translate what is available here. It gets back the results. So we can add something called webhook in this particular also. For example, this is out of the box, so I am not using it. But if I right click and insert, you can see a webhook, submit action, data source workflow action, webhook validation action. So you can add a webhook here also, webhook submit action, where you can provide the same details like what we provided before, right? The webhook URL and everything. So this can be used with workflows also. Yeah, that is it.